I was driving back home from a friend's place, cruising down the familiar, low-lit road, when I noticed a car right behind me, tailgating aggressively. It felt like they were practically breathing down my neck, their headlights glaring into my rearview mirror, blinding me. I tried to ignore it, thinking they'd back off, but they didn't. As I kept driving, trying to focus on the road, the car behind me stayed right there, so close I couldn't even see their license plate. I checked my speed, but I was within limits. I felt a knot of unease form in my stomach. It wasn't just tailgating, it felt threatening. I tried switching lanes, hoping they'd pass, but they matched my every move. Panic started to build. I couldn't shake them off. It wasn't just aggressive driving, it was this unnerving persistence that was seriously freaking me out. I decided to pull into a well-lit gas station, thinking that being around people might make them back off. But the car followed me right into the lot, maintaining that hair-raising proximity. I parked near the front, hoping someone might notice this tense situation. I stayed in my car, trying not to show how rattled I was. The other driver didn't get out either, just stayed in their car, still so close I could almost feel their breath on my neck. I tried to call for help, but my hands were shaking so much I could barely dial. After what felt like an eternity, the car finally pulled away from the gas station, and I let out this shuddering breath I hadn't realized I was holding. But then, as I breathed this sigh of relief, I saw them circle back around, headlights cutting through the darkness, heading straight for me again. Fear surged through me. My heart was pounding like crazy. I didn't know what they wanted or why they were fixated on me. I peeled out of the gas station, speeding down the road, desperate to lose them. But they were relentless, tailing me closer than before, like it was some sort of horrifying game. I didn't know what they were capable of. I tried to outmaneuver them, taking sharp turns in side roads, but they followed my every move, always right there. I realized I had to do something, fast. I called 911, trying to relay what was happening, my voice trembling as I described the car, the situation, the terror of being chased down. They assured me they were dispatching help, but it felt like forever before I saw any sign of it. I needed a plan. I spotted a police car on the horizon, and I decided to make a break for it, driving recklessly toward the flashing lights, hoping this pursuit would end. But as I got closer, the car behind me didn't back off. It was as if they were daring me to get help. The police car noticed the high-speed chase and joined in, sirens blaring, adding this frenzied energy to the night. The pursuing car finally slowed down, then took a sudden turn, vanishing into the darkness. My heart was racing, hands trembling uncontrollably. The officers pulled me over, asking if I was okay, and I tried to explain what happened, still shaking from the adrenaline. They assured me they'd keep an eye out and asked me to head home, promising they'd patrol the area. I drove home, hands still shaking on the wheel. The whole ordeal had left me rattled, scared. I couldn't understand why the driver had targeted me, what they wanted. It felt like something out of a nightmare. I was driving on this road, just cruising along, you know? It was getting late, and the sky was all dark, just a few stars blinking. There weren't many cars around, just me and the road. Then, out of nowhere, I saw her. This girl, she looked really messed up. Hair all wild, eyes wide and scared. She was waving her arms like crazy, trying to flag me down. I pulled over, and she came running up to my car. She was breathing hard, like she'd been running for miles. She kept saying, "You have to get out of here. He's coming. He's following me." I mean, I couldn't see anyone around, but she was so freaked out, I believed her. She begged me to drive her away from there, said it was dangerous to stay. I didn't know what was going on, but she seemed terrified, like she'd seen something awful. So, I let her in, and we sped off. I asked her what was happening, but she was too panicked to give a straight answer. She just kept saying, "He's coming for us. We have to get away." The road started feeling weirdly empty, like too quiet, you know? And then she suddenly grabbed my arm, screaming, "Stop. He's here." I slammed on the brakes, and that's when I saw it. A car, just appearing out of nowhere behind us, headlights off, moving in silence. It was tailing us real close. I floored it, trying to shake this car off, but it kept following us, never getting too close, but always there. The girl was freaking out, crying, telling me to lose him. I tried taking turns, speeding up, slowing down, but nothing worked. That car was glued to us, like it knew every move I was making. My heart was pounding so hard, I swear I could feel it in my throat. And then, the girl, she just froze, staring out the window. She whispered, "He's in the back seat." I couldn't believe it. I checked the rearview mirror, but there was no one there. I mean, how could there be? But then, this feeling crept over me, this icy chill. Like someone was watching, right behind me. I felt a breath on my neck, cold and steady. I turned around, slowly, and there was nothing. But that feeling lingered, like a shadow breathing down my neck. The road started twisting, and I saw this figure in the distance, standing there. The girl started screaming, "No! Don't look at him!" But I couldn't help it. I glanced over, and there was this man, just standing in the middle of the road. He had this dark coat on, and his face. I can't even describe it. It was like it was all twisted up, shadows where his eyes should have been. I swerved, trying to avoid him, and that's when everything went crazy. The road twisted and turned, like it was alive, leading us in circles. The girl was crying, yelling, "He's controlling it. He won't let us leave." I tried to call for help, but no signal, nothing. Just the road and that car, always behind us. And then, I heard a voice, not from the girl, not from me. It was right there, inside my head, whispering things I didn't want to hear. I was losing it, man. My hands were shaking on the wheel, and the fear, it was choking me. The road seemed endless, like we were trapped in some nightmare loop. I couldn't think straight, couldn't focus. I just wanted out of there, away from that figure, that car, that voice. And then, just like that, it stopped. The road straightened out, and everything felt normal. The girl was sobbing beside me, and I realized we were back where we started, where I first saw her. She got out of the car, thanking me, still crying, saying, "He's gone, for now." I didn't waste a second. I drove off as fast as I could, not looking back. I didn't stop until I reached town, until I saw lights and people. I don't know what happened up there on that road, but I can't shake that feeling, that presence, that fear. It's like it's stuck with me, like it's a part of me now. And I can't help but wonder, what if it comes back? I was driving late at night, heading back home after a long day. The road was deserted, just me, all on my own. Then, I saw them. A couple standing by their car, parked at the side of the road. They looked worried, waving for help. I pulled over, thinking I could assist. The guy seemed friendly enough, asking if I had a phone to call for a tow truck. His girlfriend, she was quieter, but something about her made me uneasy. They said their car broke down, engine trouble or something. I offered to call for roadside assistance, but they insisted they'd rather wait inside my car where it was warmer. I hesitated, but they seemed desperate. So, I let them in. That's when things got weird. They were on edge, whispering to each other in hushed tones. The guy kept glancing at me in this unsettling way, like he was sizing me up. The girl, she was fidgety, constantly looking out the window, nervous as hell. I tried making conversation, asking where they were headed, but they were vague, avoiding my questions. The atmosphere got tense, and I regretted letting them in. It felt like I was trapped with strangers who weren't what they seemed. As the night went on, things got worse. They started arguing quietly, but I could feel the tension rising. The guy's tone changed, got aggressive, like he was blaming her for something. She looked scared, almost pleading with her eyes. I wanted to pull over and ask them to leave, but we were in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't know what they'd do. So, I just drove, hoping to reach a gas station or something, somewhere with people around. Then, the guy, he asked me to stop the car. He said they were fine and wanted to walk. But his tone, it sent shivers down my spine. I refused, said it wasn't safe, but he insisted. That's when he reached into his jacket, and I saw a glint of something metallic. I panicked, didn't know what he had. I pressed on the gas, telling them I'd take them to the nearest town. The guy got furious, yelling at me to stop the car, threatening me. The girl was crying now, begging him to calm down. I was scared out of my wits, didn't know what they were capable of. The guy leaned closer, and I saw it was a knife in his hand. I couldn't think straight, just drove as fast as I could, trying to figure out what to do. They were shouting now, demanding I stop. The girl was pleading with me, saying they wouldn't hurt me, but I didn't believe her. I kept driving, praying for someone to come along, anyone. The road seemed endless, and I didn't know if I was heading in the right direction. I was shaking, the fear gripping me tight. I thought about jumping out, but I didn't want to leave the car to them. Then, headlights appeared behind us, a car closing in fast. I didn't know if it was them or someone else, but I had to take a chance. I swerved, risking it all, hoping they'd back off. The other car honked, and I saw it was a police car. Relief flooded through me like a wave. I signaled for help, and they pulled over, asking what was wrong. I explained everything in a rush, pointing at the couple in the back seat. The officers took control, asking the couple to step out. They were calm, denying everything, saying they were just stranded and needed help. But the police didn't buy it. They found the knife hidden under the guy's seat. They arrested them both, said they matched descriptions of suspects in some incidents around the area. I was trembling, but the officers assured me I did the right thing by not stopping. They took my statement and escorted me to safety. I drove away, shaking from the whole ordeal, grateful to be alive. That night was a nightmare, one I'd never forget. I couldn't believe how close I came to something terrible. It made me wary of helping strangers on the road ever again. The memory still haunts me, reminding me to trust my instincts, especially when things feel off. I was driving down this road. It was pretty deserted, not many cars around. It was getting late, and I just wanted to get home. Then, up ahead, I saw a car stopped right in the middle of the road. I couldn't go around it. It was blocking the whole way. I pulled up behind it, thinking maybe they had car trouble or something. But as I got closer, I saw this woman standing outside her car, just staring at me. She looked off. Something about her made my skin crawl. I rolled down my window and asked if everything was okay, if she needed help or something. But she didn't say anything, just kept staring at me. I felt this chill run down my spine, like something wasn't right. I asked her to move her car, but she didn't budge. She just stood there, blocking the road, staring at me with this intense look. I didn't know what to do, felt a knot in my stomach, like I was in some messed up situation. I decided to get out and talk to her, try to reason or figure out what was going on. But as soon as I stepped out, she started walking towards me, slow and deliberate. Her eyes, they were cold, empty, like she wasn't all there. I tried to stay calm, asked her again to move her car, but she ignored me. That's when I noticed something in her hand, a knife. My heart started racing, and I took a step back. I didn't want any trouble, just wanted to get out of there. She kept coming closer, not saying a word. I could feel the fear creeping up on me. I tried to reason with her, told her I didn't want any trouble, but she didn't listen, just kept advancing. I didn't know what to do. My mind was racing, looking for a way out. I couldn't go back to my car. She was blocking the way. I felt trapped, like I was in some horror movie. I yelled at her to stop, but she didn't even flinch. She was getting too close, and I knew I had to do something. I took a few steps back, my heart pounding in my chest, and then I turned and ran into the woods on the side of the road. I didn't look back, just ran as fast as I could, hoping to find help or somewhere to hide. The fear was overwhelming, like I was being hunted. I could hear my own heavy breathing, the branches snapping under my feet. I found a spot and huddled down, trying to catch my breath and listen. I didn't hear her following me, but I was too scared to move. I didn't have my phone, it was in the car. I was completely on my own. Minutes felt like hours, and I stayed there, frozen, not knowing what to do next. The forest was dark, and every sound made me jump. I was terrified she'd find me. After what felt like forever, I heard distant car noises. I cautiously peeked out and saw headlights approaching. I hesitated but decided to come out of hiding, waving my arms to flag them down. It was another driver, and I told them what happened, about the woman blocking the road with a knife. They called the police right away and offered to take me to a nearby gas station. When the police arrived, I explained everything, how she'd blocked the road and had a knife. They took it seriously, but when they checked, the woman and her car were gone. I was shaking, my whole body trembling from the terror of it all. The cops stayed with me until I felt safe to drive again. They advised me to be careful and call if I saw anything suspicious. I got back in my car, feeling paranoid, constantly checking my mirrors. I couldn't shake off the fear, like she was still out there, lurking somewhere. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every little noise outside made me jump. It was like I was haunted by that encounter, the fear that she might come back or that there might be others like her out there, waiting on those empty roads. It was late, and the darkness was heavy, not much traffic around. Then, out of nowhere, this guy in a beat-up car pulls up next to me, waving and trying to get my attention. I rolled down my window, thinking maybe there was something wrong with my car or he needed help. He looked worried, kept saying, "You need to get off this road. It's not safe." I didn't understand, everything seemed fine to me. He looked serious, almost desperate. He told me there was someone dangerous on this road, someone following him. He said I should turn back or find another route, that it wasn't safe to keep going. I didn't know what to make of it, but the guy seemed genuinely scared. I thanked him for the warning but figured he might be a bit paranoid or something. I mean, I didn't see anyone else on the road except for us. He urged me again, almost pleading, saying he wished someone had warned him. I felt a bit uneasy but brushed it off, thinking maybe he had some bad experience or watched too many scary movies. But then, a few miles ahead, I saw it. A figure standing by the side of the road, just watching as I passed by. It was dark, and I couldn't see much, but something about that silhouette sent shivers down my spine. I started feeling this knot in my stomach, like something was off. I checked my mirrors, but the guy who warned me was gone, disappeared without a trace. I was alone again, with that eerie feeling lingering. I kept driving, trying to shake off the unease, but the road felt different, like it had this heavy, foreboding atmosphere. Every little noise made me jump, and I couldn't help but keep looking in my mirrors. And then, I saw it again. The figure, but this time closer, just standing in the middle of the road. My heart was pounding so hard, I could feel it in my throat. I tried to slow down, thinking maybe it was someone needing help or lost. But as I got closer, I saw it wasn't someone in need. It was this man, just standing there, staring right at me. His eyes, there was something about them, something cold and unsettling. I didn't want to stick around to find out more. I swerved to avoid him, heart racing, palms sweating. I didn't know what was going on, but fear was gripping me tight. The road seemed endless, like I was trapped in some nightmare. I didn't stop to think, I just kept driving, trying to put as much distance between me and that figure as possible. But no matter how fast I went, it felt like he was always there, just behind me. The darkness made it worse, playing tricks on my mind. Shadows seemed to move, and every sound felt like a whisper of danger. I was shaking, feeling like I was being hunted. I wanted to call for help, but my phone had no signal. I was completely on my own, in the middle of nowhere, with that menacing figure haunting me. Hours passed, but it felt like an eternity. I was exhausted, on edge, and terrified. I couldn't take it anymore, the fear consuming me, the uncertainty of what was happening. Finally, I saw lights in the distance, a town or something. I didn't care, I just wanted people around, safety, anything but that desolate road. I drove towards it, praying it wasn't another trick. When I reached the town, I felt this overwhelming relief. I pulled over at the first gas station I saw, my hands trembling as I got out of the car. I felt like I'd narrowly escaped something I couldn't even explain. I went inside, trying to steady my breathing, trying to make sense of what happened. I asked the attendant if they knew anything about that road, about anyone warning drivers or something. But they looked at me like I was crazy, said they hadn't heard of anything like that. I was starting to doubt myself, wondering if it was all in my head. But the fear, the memories, they were too real to ignore. I stayed at that gas station until I felt calm enough to drive again. I didn't want to be alone on the road, not after what I'd experienced. I took a different route, avoiding that road like the plague. Even now, I can't shake off the feeling, that dread, that sense of something lurking in the shadows. I don't know who that guy was or what that figure on the road was about, but I'll never forget that night of fear and uncertainty. I was driving back home, usual stuff, nothing strange until this car appeared behind me. It was late, and the road was deserted, so I noticed it right away. At first, I thought maybe they were just heading the same way, you know? But then this guy started tailgating me, getting way too close. I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe he was just in a rush or something. But then he started flashing his headlights, honking like crazy. I didn't get it, wasn't doing anything wrong. I felt this sense of unease creeping in. I decided to speed up a bit, thinking he might pass me or something. But he didn't. He just kept following, getting even closer. I could see him in my rearview mirror, this guy with this intense look on his face, like he was determined or something. I started feeling this panic bubbling up. I didn't know what he wanted or why he was after me. I tried changing lanes, taking different turns, but he was right there, following my every move. I didn't understand. I'd never seen this guy before. He rolled down his window and started shouting something, but I couldn't hear him over the sound of my car. I tried to ignore him, tried to focus on driving, but I couldn't shake off this feeling of dread. I looked for a way out, a gas station, anywhere with people around. But it was late, and everything was closed. I felt trapped, like it was just me and this guy on this never-ending road. He kept getting closer, and that's when I noticed something glinting in his hand. I couldn't make out what it was, but it made my heart race even faster. I didn't want to find out. I floored it, trying to lose him, but he kept up, matching my speed. I felt this overwhelming fear, like I was being chased by someone dangerous. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what to do, where to go. I called 911, but the signal was weak, barely got through. I tried to explain what was happening, but they couldn't hear me properly. I felt this desperation, this sense of being completely alone. I saw a few cars in the distance, and I tried to signal for help, hoping someone would notice and intervene. But they just passed by, unaware of what was happening. The guy behind me was relentless, his car inching closer, and that glint in his hand. I was petrified, couldn't think straight. I just wanted to get away from him, from this terrifying pursuit. I made this sudden turn into a neighborhood, hoping I could lose him in the twists and turns. But he kept following, not giving up. I felt this chill down my spine, this gut-wrenching fear. I made another call to 911, trying to give them my location, but I was too panicked, too frazzled. I couldn't think of anything except trying to escape from this guy who wouldn't stop chasing me. I saw a police car up ahead and I felt this surge of relief, hope that I'd finally get help. I honked, flashed my lights, trying to get their attention. But they didn't notice, just kept driving. I was on the verge of tears, feeling this helplessness, this terror consuming me. I didn't know what to do, where to go. I just wanted it to stop. Finally, I saw a gas station coming up, and I made a sharp turn into it, hoping this would be my chance to get away from him. I parked my car and ran inside, hoping for safety, for someone to protect me. I told the attendant what was happening, begged for help. They called the police, and I stayed inside, trembling, waiting for them to arrive. When the police came, they searched the area, but the guy was gone. They took my statement, but without much to go on, there wasn't much they could do. I stayed at the gas station until I felt it was safe to leave. Every car that passed made my heart race, thinking it might be him again. I drove home, constantly checking my mirrors, feeling this paranoia that he might show up again. That night was the scariest I've ever experienced, this endless chase that I couldn't escape from. I was driving late at night. My car started acting up, making these weird noises. I pulled over, not sure what was wrong. I was stuck in the middle of nowhere, and it was pitch black, no streetlights or anything. I didn't know what to do. Then, this car pulled up, and this woman stepped out. She said she was a mechanic, offered to help fix my car. At first, I was relieved, thinking she was just being kind. But then, something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was this uneasy feeling creeping in. She opened up the hood, tinkered around a bit, said she needed some tools from her car. I waited, feeling this sense of vulnerability being out there alone with a stranger in the dead of night. She came back, and she had this smile on her face, but it was strange. She said she fixed the problem, but I didn't hear any tools or anything. I thanked her, trying to shake off this weird feeling, just wanting to get going. As I started the car, it felt worse, like it was struggling even more. I didn't understand. She said she fixed it. I rolled down the window to tell her, and that's when I saw it. She had this wrench in her hand, this big one, and it looked odd. I asked her about it, and she just laughed, this cold, chilling laugh. She said she could fix it better if I stepped out of the car. That's when alarm bells went off in my head. I felt this fear creeping up, like I needed to get out of there fast. I pretended everything was fine, said I'd drive to the next town and get it checked. I put the car in gear, trying to get away, but it wouldn't start. I panicked, feeling this sense of danger looming. She started getting closer, that wrench in her hand, this determined look in her eyes. I was scared out of my mind, didn't know what she was planning. I fumbled with the keys, trying to start the car, but it wouldn't budge. She reached for the door handle, and I locked it just in time. She started banging on the window, shouting something, but I couldn't make out her words. I didn't want to find out. I kept trying to start the car, feeling this rising panic. I saw lights in the distance, another car coming. I hunted and waved, hoping for help, hoping someone would notice. The woman outside, she stopped banging and walked away, disappearing into the darkness. I didn't want to stick around to see if she'd come back. I got out of the car, keeping an eye out, and opened the hood to see if I could fix whatever she did. I didn't see anything wrong. It looked normal to me. But I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. I called for roadside assistance, feeling this dread lingering. When the help arrived, they checked my car and said there was nothing wrong. I didn't know what to make of it. I felt this lingering unease, this fear of what might have happened if that other driver hadn't come by. I drove away, constantly checking my mirrors, feeling this paranoia that she might be following me. That night, it felt like I narrowly escaped something terrifying. I couldn't forget that chilling smile, that wrench in her hand. I was driving home after work, and it was getting pretty late. I saw this guy on the side of the road, walking. Seemed like he needed a ride, so I pulled over to offer him one. He looked normal enough, just a regular guy. He got in, said thanks, and I asked him where he was headed. He was vague, said he was just going a few miles down the road. Seemed harmless, so I didn't think much of it. As we drove, I tried to make conversation, just being polite. But this guy, he was quiet, didn't say much. It felt awkward, like he wasn't in the mood for talking. The road was pretty empty, just us and the occasional passing car. The guy seemed jittery, kept looking out the window like he was expecting something. It gave me this weird vibe, like something wasn't right. I brushed it off, thinking maybe he was just having a rough day or something. But then he asked me to stop the car, said he needed to get out right there. It was in the middle of nowhere, no houses or anything nearby. I asked if everything was okay, but he insisted, almost panicked. I didn't want to argue, so I pulled over, and he got out in a hurry. He thanked me and walked off into the darkness. I felt uneasy, like something was off about the whole situation. I watched him walk away until he disappeared into the night. I shrugged it off, thinking it was strange but not dwelling on it much. As I continued driving, I couldn't shake off this feeling, this sense of unease. It felt like something was lingering, like there was more to that guy than he let on. I tried to distract myself with the radio, but every passing shadow felt ominous, like it held some secret. The road seemed longer than usual, and the night felt heavier. Then, up ahead, I saw him again. That guy, walking on the road in the distance. I couldn't believe it. We'd covered some miles, and there he was again, walking in the same direction I was heading. I slowed down, not sure what to do. He looked back, and our eyes met in the rearview mirror. There was something in his gaze, this eerie intensity that sent chills down my spine. I didn't want anything to do with this, so I kept driving, hoping he'd just disappear. But he didn't. He was getting closer, like he was purposely catching up to me. I felt this knot in my stomach, this creeping fear. I didn't understand how he got ahead of me or why he was walking in the middle of nowhere at this time of night. I decided to speed up, thinking I could leave him behind. But no matter how fast I went, he kept pace, almost like he was toying with me, like it was all a game to him. I was panicking, didn't know what he wanted or why he was doing this. I couldn't reason with it. It felt like a nightmare unfolding before my eyes. I considered calling the police, but my phone battery was low, and there was no signal. I was on my own, in this surreal situation with this guy on a deserted road. I tried taking turns, hoping to lose him, but he knew every move I made. It was like he was predicting my every turn, following me with this unsettling determination. I saw a gas station up ahead, and I made a desperate move, pulling in, hoping for safety. But when I got out, I saw him, standing at a distance, just watching me. I felt this overwhelming fear, like he was toying with me, like I was at his mercy. I ran into the gas station, pleading for help, telling them there was someone following me. They looked out, but he was gone. They offered to call the police, but I felt this urgency to leave, to get away from that place. I got back in my car and drove as fast as I could, not stopping for anything, constantly checking my mirrors, expecting to see him there, following me, watching me. I didn't sleep that night, feeling this lingering terror, this sense of being hunted. I couldn't shake off the feeling that he might appear again, that he might be out there, waiting in the darkness. It's this nightmare that sticks with me, this chilling encounter that makes me question everything. I don't know who that guy was or what he wanted, but I'll never forget that night of fear and uncertainty, that night when the darkness held secrets I couldn't comprehend. I was driving late at night, cruising down the road after a long day. The streets were quiet, not many cars around. Then, I saw her. A woman standing by the side of the road, waving her arms, signaling me to stop. I pulled over, thinking maybe she needed help or something. She seemed friendly enough, asking if I could follow a detour because of some roadwork up ahead. It sounded legit, and she seemed sincere, so I agreed. She pointed out this alternate route, giving directions, and I thanked her for the heads up. She smiled and said she hoped it wouldn't cause me too much trouble. I thought she was just being considerate. As I drove down the detour, things started feeling weird. The road was empty, no signs of any construction or work being done. I didn't see any other cars or workers around. It was just me, alone on this unfamiliar path. I started feeling this unease, this gut feeling that something wasn't right. But I kept going, hoping to reach familiar territory soon. That's when I noticed it. The detour seemed to be leading me farther away from town, into this desolate area. I tried turning back, but the road behind me had vanished in darkness. I couldn't see anything except a narrow path ahead. Panic started creeping in. I didn't know what was going on or where I was headed. Then, up ahead, I saw her again. The woman who gave me directions, orchestrating some kind of diversion on the road. She was signaling another car, guiding them onto the same detour. That's when it hit me, this sinking realization that something was seriously wrong. I didn't trust her anymore. It felt like I'd fallen into a trap. I didn't want to confront her, didn't want to stick around. I tried turning my car around, but it wouldn't budge, like it was stuck or something. Fear gripped me tight. I felt trapped in this nightmare. I looked around, trying to figure out my options, when suddenly, the woman was right next to my window, this eerie smile on her face. It scared the living daylights out of me. I didn't expect her to be there so fast. She said something about how I couldn't leave, how I was exactly where I needed to be. Her voice sent shivers down my spine, and I felt this overwhelming urge to get away from her. I tried to reason, asked her what was going on, but she just laughed, this chilling, twisted laughter. She said something about being part of her plan, that I wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. I felt this surge of panic, this desperate need to escape. I tried everything to start the car, but it wouldn't cooperate. It was like I was in a nightmare with no way out. The woman kept circling the car, tapping on the windows, laughing like it was all some sick game. I was terrified, felt this raw fear like I'd never felt before. Then, she pulled out something from her pocket, this shiny object that gleamed in the dim light. I couldn't see what it was, but it looked sharp, dangerous. I didn't want to stick around to find out. I lunged to the passenger side, opened the door, and bolted out. I ran into the darkness, not looking back, not caring where I was headed. I just wanted to get away from her, from that twisted game she was playing. I didn't know where I was running. The fear drove me blindly through the darkness. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt like it was her chasing me. I found a spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath, trying to make sense of what just happened. I didn't know if she was still out there, waiting, watching. Hours passed, and I stayed hidden, too scared to move. I didn't have my phone. It was in the car. I felt completely alone, lost in this terrifying ordeal. When I finally gathered the courage to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the woman, the detour, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything about the woman diverting traffic, trapping me. But when they checked, there was no sign of her or the detour I mentioned. It felt like I was going insane. They took my statement and drove me home. I was trembling, feeling this lingering fear that she might still be out there, preying on unsuspecting drivers. That night was a living nightmare, one that kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't shake off the horror, the fear of what could have happened if I hadn't managed to escape. It's this chilling encounter that haunts me, that makes me wary of trusting strangers on deserted roads. I was driving home late at night, the roads deserted, not a soul in sight. It was quiet, too quiet, and I was tired, just wanting to get back. That's when I saw her, standing by the side of the road, waving frantically. I thought maybe she needed help, so I slowed down and rolled down the window. She seemed distressed, asking for a ride, saying her car had broken down. I felt bad. She looked worried, so I agreed to give her a lift. She seemed grateful, thanked me profusely as she got into the car. At first, everything seemed fine. I asked where she needed to go, and she said it wasn't far, just a few miles down the road. Seemed harmless enough, so I started driving, making small talk to ease the tension. but things started feeling off. She was fidgety, kept glancing around like she was expecting something. I tried to keep the conversation light, but she was distant, didn't seem interested in talking. Then, she asked me to take a turn, said she needed to stop somewhere. I didn't see any reason to refuse, she seemed genuine. But as we drove farther away from the main road, I started feeling this unease, this sinking feeling in my gut. I asked where exactly she wanted to go, but she was vague, said she'd let me know when we got closer. I started feeling trapped, like I was being led into something I couldn't understand. That's when it happened. She asked me to stop the car, said she needed to get out right there. It was in the middle of nowhere, no houses or lights around. I felt this surge of panic, this fear that something wasn't right. I asked if everything was okay, but she didn't answer, just opened the door and bolted out. I didn't know what to do, felt this overwhelming sense of danger. I tried to start the car, but it wouldn't start. Panic started setting in. I felt like I was in a nightmare. I saw her in the distance, walking away, and I knew I needed to get away from there. I got out of the car, feeling this urgency to leave, to escape. I started walking in the opposite direction, hoping to find help or somewhere safe. But then, I heard her voice behind me, this chilling tone saying, "You're not going anywhere." I turned around, and she was there, holding something in her hand, something sharp and menacing. I didn't wait. I ran into the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't look back. I just wanted to get away from her, from that terrifying situation. I ran and ran, not knowing where I was headed, just wanting to escape. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow felt like her lurking behind me. I found a spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath. I didn't know if she was following me, didn't want to risk it. I stayed there, feeling this overwhelming fear. Hours passed, and I stayed hidden, too scared to move. I didn't have my phone. It was in the car. I felt completely alone, lost in this terrifying ordeal. When I finally mustered the courage to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the woman, the car, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything about the woman and what had happened. But when they checked, there was no sign of her or my car. They took my statement and drove me home. I was trembling, feeling this lingering fear that she might still be out there, preying on unsuspecting drivers. That night was a living nightmare, one that kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't shake off the horror, the fear of what could have happened if I hadn't managed to escape. It's this chilling encounter that haunts me, that makes me wary of trusting strangers on deserted roads. I was driving home from work, just another ordinary evening. The road was quiet, not much traffic around. Then, up ahead, I saw this car pulled over, hazard lights blinking. Looked like an accident, so I slowed down, thinking I should check if they needed help. As I got closer, I saw this guy, well-dressed, lying on the road, groaning like he was hurt. It seemed serious, so I pulled over, concerned, wanting to help. I didn't see any other cars around, no witnesses to the supposed accident. I got out of my car, asking if he was okay, if I should call an ambulance or something. But as I approached, something felt off. He had this smirk on his face, like he was hiding something. I tried to assess the situation, but it didn't add up. There were no visible injuries, no signs of a collision. It felt staged, like a performance. I asked if he needed help, but he just chuckled, saying he was an actor, rehearsing for a role. I was taken aback, wondering why someone would fake an accident like that. It didn't make sense. He seemed friendly, trying to explain his acting gig, but I felt this unease creeping in. I wanted to leave, to get away from this weird situation. As I turned to head back to my car, he grabbed my arm, saying he needed a ride, that his car broke down. I hesitated, feeling this growing discomfort, not wanting to get more involved. But he insisted, saying it was urgent. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be rude, so I reluctantly agreed, thinking it wouldn't hurt to drop him off somewhere nearby. As he got into my car, I felt this sense of unease, like I was making a mistake. He was charming, but there was something off about him, something I couldn't pinpoint. I asked where he needed to go, but he was vague, saying he'd guide me along the way. I felt this rising tension, this fear of the unknown. He directed me to this remote area, far from the main road. I started feeling this dread, wondering why he'd take me there. Suddenly, he asked me to stop the car, saying he needed to get out right there. It was a desolate area, no houses or lights in sight. I felt this surge of panic, something didn't feel right. I asked if everything was okay, but he just smirked, saying he'd find his own way. I didn't want to argue. I wanted to leave that place as fast as I could. I tried to start the car, but it wouldn't budge. Panic started gripping me. I felt trapped in this nightmare. Then, he leaned in closer, this sinister glint in his eyes, saying, "You shouldn't have stopped for me." It sent chills down my spine. I didn't understand what he meant. I reached for my phone to call for help, but it was dead. I felt this overwhelming fear, this sense of danger looming over me. I tried to reason with him, asked what he wanted, but he didn't respond. He just got out of the car and started walking away, disappearing into the darkness. I didn't want to stick around. I got out of the car, trying to start it again, but it was no use. I felt this overwhelming panic, this desperate need to escape. I started walking, not knowing where I was headed, just wanting to get away. Every sound made me jump, every shadow felt like him lurking nearby. I found a spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath, hoping he wouldn't find me. I didn't know if he was still out there, watching, waiting. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, feeling this raw fear. I didn't have my phone. I couldn't call for help. I was completely alone, lost in this terrifying ordeal. When I finally dared to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the man, the fake accident, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything about the man and what had happened. But when they checked, there was no sign of him or my car. They took my statement and drove me home. I was trembling, feeling this lingering fear that he might still be out there, preying on unsuspecting drivers. That night was a living nightmare, one that kept replaying in my mind. I was driving home, just cruising down the road, when suddenly, my car started shaking and making strange sounds. Just what I needed, right? I could tell something was wrong with the engine. I pulled over to the side, frustrated, not knowing what to do. I popped the hood, trying to figure it out, but I'm no mechanic. Out of nowhere, this guy shows up. I didn't even see him approaching. He said he was a mechanic, offered to take a look at my car. Seemed like a stroke of luck, you know? I was relieved, thinking he might be able to help. He tinkered around for a bit, looked under the hood, did some stuff. He said he could fix it, that it was a quick job. I felt this sense of relief, thinking I'd be back on the road in no time. But as he worked on it, something felt off. He was too pushy, too insistent, like he wanted me to stay put. I started feeling uncomfortable, wondering why he was so eager to help a stranger at this hour. He finished up, said he'd taken care of the issue. I thanked him, ready to get going, but that's when things got weird. He said he needed a ride to his garage, that it wasn't too far. I didn't want to say no, didn't want to seem ungrateful, so I agreed. As he got into the car, something felt wrong, like a gut feeling telling me to get away from this guy. But I didn't want to be rude, he did help with the car. He gave me directions, leading me to this isolated area. It was getting darker, and I started feeling this growing sense of unease. I didn't know where we were going, and I started regretting my decision. He directed me down this deserted road, no signs of any garage or workshop. I started feeling this knot in my stomach, this rising fear. I asked where exactly his garage was, but he just brushed it off, said it was close. Then, he suddenly asked me to stop the car, claiming his garage was right there. But there was nothing, just darkness and trees. I felt this chill down my spine, this overwhelming sense of danger. I asked if he was sure this was the place, but he didn't answer, just got out of the car, saying he'd be back in a minute. I didn't want to stick around, something felt seriously wrong. I tried to start the car, but it wouldn't budge. Panic started creeping in. I felt trapped, like I'd fallen into some trap. I didn't know what to do, felt this urgent need to get away. I saw him coming back, but he wasn't alone. There were a few other guys with him, and they looked sinister. I felt this wave of fear wash over me. I didn't understand what was happening. They started approaching the car, getting closer, and that's when I noticed it. One of them had something in his hand, something sharp and dangerous looking. I didn't want to find out what it was for. I didn't wait. I bolted out of the car, didn't look back, just ran into the darkness, not knowing where I was headed. Fear drove me blindly, every sound making me jump, every shadow feeling like they were closing in on me. I found this spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath, hoping they wouldn't find me. I didn't know if they were still out there, searching, waiting. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, too scared to move. I didn't have my phone. I couldn't call for help. I was completely alone, lost in this terrifying nightmare. When I finally dared to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the mechanic, the isolated area, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything about the mechanic and what had happened. But when they checked, there was no sign of them or my car. They took my statement and drove me home. I was trembling, feeling this lingering fear that they might still be out there, preying on unsuspecting drivers. I was driving late at night, running low on gas. The dashboard light blinked, warning me that I needed to refuel soon. I spotted a gas station up ahead, a small place, but it looked open. I pulled in, relieved to find somewhere to fill up. It was quiet, eerily so. There were no other cars, no sign of anyone around. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a slow night for the station. I parked by the pump and got out of the car. That's when I noticed the silence, this unsettling stillness in the air. The station seemed deserted, no attendant behind the counter, nothing. I walked towards the convenience store, hoping to find someone inside. The door creaked open, and I called out, but there was no answer, just this eerie echo in the empty space. I figured maybe they stepped out or something. I went to grab the nozzle to fill up my tank when I heard a faint sound, like someone whispering. I looked around, but there was no one there. I felt this shiver down my spine, this unnerving feeling. I tried to shrug it off, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I went to the pump, inserted my card, and started filling up. That's when things started feeling really weird. The pump suddenly stopped, like it had reached its limit, but my tank wasn't full. I tried again, but it wouldn't work. I felt this rising sense of unease, like something was off. I went back to the store, thinking maybe there was a problem with the pump. But when I tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. It was like it was locked from the inside. I started feeling this panic, this fear creeping in. I banged on the door, calling out, but there was no response, just this eerie silence. I didn't understand what was happening, why the station seemed deserted and locked up. That's when I noticed movement outside, this shadowy figure in the darkness. It felt wrong, like they were watching me. I couldn't see their face, but I felt this chill in the air, this overwhelming sense of danger. I ran back to my car, feeling this urgency to leave. I tried to start the engine, but it wouldn't start. Panic washed over me. I felt trapped, like a prey. I looked around, trying to figure out my options, when suddenly, the figure appeared by my window. I froze, this fear gripping me tight. They were wearing this mask, this twisted grin carved into it. It was horrifying, like something out of a nightmare. They tapped on the window, this menacing rhythm, and I didn't know what to do. I felt this primal fear, this overwhelming urge to escape. I tried to lock the doors, but they were already unlocked. I didn't know how they got there, didn't understand what they wanted. I just wanted to get away, to leave that place. I tried to scream for help, but my voice felt stuck in my throat. They kept tapping, this relentless persistence. I felt this terror consuming me, this suffocating fear. I reached for my phone, but it wasn't there. I must have left it in the car. I felt completely helpless, completely alone in this horrifying situation. Then, they started banging on the window, this aggressive pounding. I felt this impending doom, this feeling of being hunted. I didn't wait. I jumped out of the car and ran, not looking back, not caring where I was headed. I just wanted to get away from that nightmare, from that masked figure. I found a spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath, hoping they wouldn't find me. I didn't know if they were still out there, searching, waiting. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, too scared to move. I didn't know what to do, felt this overwhelming fear. When I finally dared to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the gas station, the masked figure, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything about the gas station and what had happened. But when they checked, the station was empty, no sign of the masked figure or my car. They took my statement and drove me home. I was trembling, feeling this lingering fear that they might still be out there, preying on unsuspecting drivers. That night was a living nightmare, one that kept replaying in my mind. I couldn't shake off the horror, the fear of what could have happened if I hadn't managed to escape. It's this chilling encounter that haunts me, that makes me wary of deserted places in the dead of night. I was driving back home after a long day at work, just trying to get through the night. The road was dark and empty, not a soul in sight. I saw this group of guys by the side of the road, looking like they were scavenging for something. They waved me down, signaling for me to stop. I hesitated, not sure what they wanted, but I stopped anyway. They seemed harmless at first, asking if I had any spare supplies or tools they could use. I didn't have much, just some snacks and water in the back. They looked disappointed but still asked if I could give them a ride. I felt this twinge of unease, something about their expressions, their demeanor. But I didn't want to be rude, they seemed like they needed help. So, I reluctantly agreed, thinking it wouldn't hurt to drop them off nearby. As they got into the car, the atmosphere changed. They were rowdy, loud, and I started feeling this growing sense of discomfort. They directed me down this isolated path, away from the main road. I didn't know where we were headed, and it started feeling wrong. They kept talking, but their conversation turned dark, something about being stranded and needing to get to a remote place. I tried to focus on driving, but their words made me uneasy, like they had ulterior motives. Then, one of them mentioned they needed to make a stop, that it was close by. I didn't want to argue, didn't want to get into trouble, so I agreed. As we pulled over, I noticed there was nothing around, just darkness and trees. I felt this knot in my stomach, this creeping fear. I asked if this was the place they were talking about, but they just laughed, this unsettling laughter that sent chills down my spine. One of them leaned in closer, this sinister grin on his face, saying they needed something from me. I didn't understand, felt this raw fear gripping me tight. I tried to start the car, but it wouldn't budge. Panic started setting in. I felt trapped, like I was in danger. They surrounded the car, blocking any chance of escape. I didn't know what they wanted, but I knew I had to get away. I reached for my phone, but it was in the back seat, out of reach. I felt this overwhelming sense of helplessness, completely at their mercy. They started banging on the windows, demanding I let them in. I felt this surge of panic, this fear of what they might do. I didn't want to find out, I just wanted to escape. I unlocked the doors, hoping it would satisfy them, but they didn't get in. They just stood there, staring at me with this chilling intensity. I felt this dread, this instinct to run, to get away from them. I managed to jump out of the car and ran, not looking back, not caring where I was headed. Fear drove me, every step pounding in my chest, every breath ragged. I found a spot to hide, crouched down, trying to catch my breath, hoping they wouldn't find me. I didn't know if they were still out there, searching, waiting. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, too scared to move. I didn't have my phone, I couldn't call for help. I was completely alone, lost in this terrifying nightmare. When I finally dared to peek out, I saw lights in the distance, a highway or something. I cautiously made my way towards it, hoping for help, for safety. I flagged down a passing car, begging for a ride, telling them about the guys, the isolated road, everything. They called the police and offered to take me to the nearest station. When the police arrived, I told them everything, about the guys and what had happened. But when they checked, there was no sign of them or my car. Okay, so this happened a while back. I was driving home late from work. It was like 11 p.m. and the road was pretty empty. I take this shortcut through this kind of deserted area. Not many street lights, just a long stretch of road surrounded by trees. I'm just cruising along, minding my own business, when I see these guys on the side of the road up ahead. There were like 4 or 5 of them, all dressed in dark clothes, and they seemed really worked up about something. I didn't pay much attention at first, just thought they were maybe having car trouble or something. But then I noticed they were shouting at each other, and it looked heated. Like, really heated. I could see their fists waving in the air, and one guy even shoved another one. It got pretty intense, pretty fast. I slowed down as I passed them, trying not to stare but also trying to see what was going on. I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but the vibe was off. I mean, it was more than just a regular argument. There was this tension, this weird feeling in the air that just made my skin crawl. As I drove past, I saw one of the guys reach into his trunk and pull out something that looked like a rope or a cord. And then, I kid you not, they all started looking around, checking the area, like they were making sure nobody else was around. That's when alarm bells started ringing in my head. I was freaking out a bit by now. I mean, what were these guys up to? It didn't feel right, not at all. My heart was racing, and I just wanted to get out of there, but I couldn't shake this feeling of dread. I mean, what if they were planning something really messed up? I kept glancing in my rearview mirror, watching them as I drove away, and I saw them huddled around something on the ground. They were working on it, doing something, but it was too dark to see clearly. I just knew I had to get out of there and call the cops or something. I sped up, feeling this knot in my stomach. I didn't want to be involved, but I also couldn't leave without doing something. I mean, what if someone was hurt or in danger? I was torn between wanting to help and being scared out of my mind. I must have been driving like a maniac because I looked in my rearview mirror again and saw headlights coming up fast behind me. I panicked, thinking it was them following me, but it turned out to be just another car. Still, I couldn't shake this feeling of being watched. I finally got to a spot with better cell reception and immediately called 911, telling them about what I saw. They said they'd send someone out, but it would take some time. I felt helpless, like I'd done what I could but still felt this heavy weight on my chest. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself I did the right thing by calling the cops. But then, as I was waiting, I heard this distant sound, like shouting or screaming. I froze, my heart pounding in my ears. It was coming from the direction I'd just come from. I debated whether to go back or not. I mean, what if those guys were doing something awful? What if someone needed help? But then, I also didn't want to get involved in something dangerous. I was torn between wanting to be a hero and wanting to protect myself. I stayed put, trembling, listening to those distant sounds of chaos and not knowing what to do. Minutes felt like hours, and I felt this guilt gnawing at me for not going back, for not being braver. Finally, I saw flashing lights in the distance, and a police car came speeding past me towards where I'd seen those guys. I felt this mix of relief and anxiety. I mean, what if I should have stayed? What if I could have done something more? I waited for what felt like forever, and then the cop car came back, followed by another one. I could see them in my rearview mirror, but they didn't stop me or anything. I just kept driving, feeling this heavy weight of unease. I never found out what happened that night. I checked the news the next day, but there was nothing about any incident in that area. It was like it never happened, but I knew what I saw. And it still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Those guys and whatever they were up to, it felt so wrong, so chilling. I try not to drive through that area anymore, especially not at night. But sometimes, when I'm on a quiet road alone, I can't help but remember that night and wonder what really went down. It's like a nightmare I can't shake off, a real-life horror story that's still unresolved in my mind. Alright, this happened a while back, but I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a regular night, nothing out of the ordinary. I was driving home from a friend's place, taking this shortcut through a quieter part of town. The road was empty, just me and the hum of the engine. Then I saw something weird up ahead, like a scuffle by the side of the road. At first, I thought it might be some folks having an argument or a fight. You know, people can get heated sometimes. But then I got closer, and it wasn't just an argument. It was intense, and there was this guy, trying to force someone else into a van. My heart started racing, and I felt this knot in my stomach. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It happened so fast, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, it was dark, and I was alone, and there were these guys doing something awful right in front of me. I slowed down, trying to make sense of it all. I saw this person struggling, trying to break free, but the other guy was pulling them toward the van. I wanted to help, to do something, but I also didn't want to get involved in something dangerous. I must have hesitated too long because before I knew it, the person was shoved into the van, and it sped off. I was frozen for a moment, trying to process what I just witnessed. I mean, it was like a movie scene, except it was real, and I was just sitting there, feeling helpless. I grabbed my phone to call the cops, my hands shaking. I told them what I saw, where it happened, but it felt like forever waiting for them to answer. They said they'd send someone over, but it'd take time. I couldn't just sit there, so I turned my car around to follow the van. I know, it sounds stupid now, but I felt this need to do something, to make sure that person was okay. The van was moving fast, and I was struggling to keep up, driving like a maniac, trying not to lose sight of it. I remember feeling this rush of adrenaline, this mix of fear and determination. I had to help, to make sure whoever was taken was safe. But then, the van took this sharp turn down this narrow road, and I lost sight of it. I kept driving, hoping I'd catch up, but it was like the van vanished into thin air. I felt this sinking feeling in my chest. I mean, what could I do? I was just one guy in a car, chasing after something I couldn't even see anymore. I pulled over, trying to catch my breath, trying to figure out what to do next. The cops arrived a while later, and I told them everything. They took my statement, but there wasn't much they could do without more details. I felt guilty, like I should have done more, like I failed that person. I couldn't shake off this feeling of dread, thinking about what might have happened to them. It was like this nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The cops searched the area, but they didn't find anything. No sign of the van, no clues. It was like the whole thing never happened, but I knew it did. I couldn't forget the fear in that person's eyes, the desperation. I went home that night, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I witnessed, about how life can change in an instant. I tried to distract myself, watch TV, anything to get my mind off it, but it didn't work. The next day, I kept checking the news, hoping to hear something, anything about what happened. But there was nothing. It was like the whole thing was swept under the rug, and I was left with this haunting memory that wouldn't fade. I never drove through that area again, not at night, not ever. It's like I'm haunted by that moment, by the fact that I couldn't do more. I wish I could have helped, could have made a difference, but I was just a bystander in a nightmare I couldn't stop. And that's something that stays with you, that feeling of helplessness, of not being able to change what happened. Okay, so this happened a few months back, and it still gives me the chills when I think about it. It was late, like past midnight, and I was driving home from a friend's place. The road was deserted, just me and my car cruising along this dimly lit highway. I remember feeling a bit on edge, you know, it's eerie driving alone at that time of night. Anyway, I noticed something up ahead on the side of the road. There was this guy, just standing there by the trees, and he was using a flashlight. Seemed harmless enough, maybe his car broke down or something. But there was this weird feeling creeping up on me. As I got closer, I could see him waving the flashlight at passing cars. I thought he might need help, but it was odd, like he was deliberately trying to get my attention. I slowed down, not sure what to do. I mean, I wanted to help, but I also didn't want to get into a sketchy situation. He stepped out onto the road, shining the light straight at my car. I felt this knot in my stomach, this gut feeling that something wasn't right. I mean, who just randomly stops cars like that in the middle of the night? I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to stop or not, but then I just kept driving. I mean, call it intuition or whatever, but I felt this strong urge to get away from there. It was like my instincts were screaming at me to not stop. I checked my rearview mirror, and I saw him standing there, watching my car drive away. He didn't chase after me or anything, but his presence lingered in my mind. I couldn't shake off this feeling of unease, this feeling that something wasn't adding up. I kept driving, trying to convince myself that I overreacted, that maybe he genuinely needed help and I just drove off. But then, a few miles down the road, I saw the same flashlight in my rearview mirror. It was like he was following me. I felt this rush of panic, my heart pounding in my chest. I mean, why would he be following me? I didn't do anything wrong, and there was no reason for him to be tailing my car like that. I tried to shake him off, driving faster and taking turns, but every time I glanced in the mirror, that damn flashlight was still there, getting closer. It felt like a horror movie, like I was being chased by someone with who knows what intentions. I didn't know what to do. I was scared, alone on this empty road with this guy on my tail. I considered calling the cops, but I didn't want to take my eyes off the road or slow down. I drove for what felt like forever, this intense feeling of dread gnawing at me. And then, suddenly, the flashlight disappeared. I didn't see it in the mirror anymore, and it was like this weight lifted off my shoulders. But at the same time, I was freaked out, wondering where he went, if he was still around somewhere. I kept driving, not stopping until I reached the safety of my home. I locked all the doors, checked the windows, and felt this overwhelming relief that I made it back in one piece. But even then, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that guy with the flashlight, wondering what his deal was, and why he was following me like that. It was terrifying, this feeling of being watched, of being chased by someone who I didn't even know. The next day, I tried to shrug it off, telling myself it was just a weird encounter. But it stuck with me, that fear, that uncertainty. I mean, what if I had stopped? What if I'd fallen for whatever game that guy was playing? I never drove that route again, not at night, and I made sure to always keep an eye on my surroundings when I'm out on the road. It's like a scene from a nightmare that I can't erase from my mind, this unsettling encounter that still gives me goosebumps. This thing happened a while ago, and it's still stuck in my head like it was yesterday. It was a late night. I was driving home from work, and the road was kinda deserted. Then I saw this figure on the side, someone hitchhiking. Now, I usually don't pick up hitchhikers, but there was something about this person that made me feel guilty for passing them by. They looked harmless, just standing there with their thumb out, so I pulled over. As they got closer, I noticed something off about them, like they were too still, too quiet. But then again, it was dark, and I was probably overthinking it. They climbed into the car, and that's when things started feeling weird. They didn't say much, just nodded when I asked where they were headed. I tried making small talk, to ease the silence, but they stayed quiet, almost unnaturally so. I felt this unease creeping up on me, like I made a mistake picking them up. But I brushed it off, trying to focus on the road. I mean, they were probably just tired or something. As we drove, I stole glances at them, trying to figure them out. There was something about their eyes, this intense stare that sent shivers down my spine. It was like they were sizing me up, and I didn't like the feeling. I offered them some water or asked if they needed to use my phone, trying to be helpful, but they declined, just kept staring out the window. I wished they'd say something, anything, to break the silence, but they stayed quiet. I noticed they were fidgeting, like they were nervous or something. It made me nervous too, like I was waiting for something to happen. I mean, it was just a car ride, but the tension was palpable. Then, out of nowhere, they asked to be let out at this random spot on the road. I was surprised. I mean, we weren't near any houses or buildings. But they insisted, so I pulled over. As they got out, they turned to me, and I swear, their expression was so cold, so eerie. It gave me this feeling like something was really wrong. They said something in a low voice that I couldn't quite catch, and then they just walked off into the darkness. I was left sitting there in my car, feeling this heavy weight of unease. I didn't know why, but that encounter shook me. I wanted to drive away fast, get as far as I could, but I was frozen for a moment. Then, I saw them in my rearview mirror, standing by the side of the road, staring after my car. It was like they were watching me, and I felt this fear creeping up inside me. I stepped on the gas and drove off as fast as I could, my heart pounding like crazy. I kept checking my mirrors, expecting to see them following me or something. I felt this urge to look back, to see if they were still there, but I was too scared to turn my head. When I finally got home, I locked all the doors and windows, feeling this dread that I couldn't shake. I mean, it was just a hitchhiker, but something about that whole thing felt so wrong, so chilling. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just a weird encounter, but I couldn't shake this feeling of being watched. I kept thinking about their expression, about how it felt like they knew something I didn't. I checked the news the next day, half expecting to hear something about a weird hitchhiker or some unsettling incident, but there was nothing. It was like it never happened, but I knew what I saw, what I felt. I couldn't bring myself to drive alone at night for a while after that. I kept thinking about that person, about their unsettling presence. It felt like a scene from a horror movie, like I stumbled into something I shouldn't have. That encounter, it's still etched in my memory. I try not to dwell on it too much, but it's like this lingering nightmare that won't fade away. I keep wondering what that person's deal was, and I hope I never have to encounter someone like that again.